Number 6, midfielder and team captain, PC. Number 37, in goal, Matt Cardoni. Number 23, defender, Sam Leal. Number 13, defender, Matthew DeVore. Number 33, defender, Yannick Kamiri. Number 4, defender, Chris Lima. Number 17, midfielder, Jose Gallegos. Number 8, midfielder, Cam Lenley. Number 20, midfielder, Marcus F. Number 10, midfielder, Emil Cueto. Number 7, forward, Nathan. And head coach for your San Antonio FC, Alan Marcino.
New Mexico United has had fanfare and a fairy tale Open Cup run. In 2021, they're rumored to be elite, and now their form is ascendant. In a Mountain Division theirs for the taking, a 9-point week could make them the front runner. While in Texas, an organization accustomed to putting a ring on it may have found their mojo. Pained but determined, they return home to San Antonio with a weight off their shoulders and playoff position within grasp. San Antonio and New Mexico kicks off right now. Welcome to the USL Championship on ESPN. From Toyota Field, the league meetings are closed and the executives are here, but plenty of fans coming through the turnstiles as well. New Mexico United to take on San Antonio FC. San Antonio sitting in 6th, the win moves them to 5th. New Mexico trying to break up a Texas two-step at the top of the Mountain Division. With that in mind, welcome to the booth, everybody. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr. Devin, these teams have had ups and certainly some downs along the way this year, but they should both feel pretty good right now.
Go with the up and up for San Antonio FC. First win since May 22nd. Stretch of 7 matches. Finally, back in the three-point land. Now, remember, only 3 losses in that time frame, so not that terrible. For New Mexico United, though, Mike, it's as simple as this. Quality, top tier, elite. These are words being thrown around by their peers. Troy Lasaint said simple enough, to start to own up to that, Bill, we got to churn out some more results. Back-to-back wins isn't good enough. Let's keep it rolling.
Dev, let's go ahead of the curve and see how New Mexico has improved their offense.
Simple enough. It's a regime change in the midfield. They go from a 3-5-2 to a 3-4-3. How does that work? Well, Sergio Rivas was entrusted with so much responsibility in the midfield that as they moved forward, his playmaking ability was stagnant because everybody was flat. You have Suggs out wide, you have Bruce on the left, but the boys in the middle are side by side, and it's half chances from distance. There's 20 in this game. Not good enough. Efficiency, better chances, less opportunities, more decision-making in the final third. That causes more problems for the defensive unit as well. Notice the change up front. You have 4 different areas you can attack. Daniel Bruce isolates the best option. Martinez down into the corner. You've got Sandoval, which is the most difficult ball. You've also got a trailing run at the top of the 18. Back post. Be more efficient in the final third and convert your opportunities. When you start to move forward here, it's all about Martinez and Rivas dropping underneath Devin Sandoval. He's got to stay high and press up against that back 4. Azira and Tenari. That's the change in the midfield with Juan Pablo Guzman out defensively. Can they still stretch this game but hold shape in the middle? The backline, Justin Schmidt comes in alongside Kalen Ryden, and of course Alex Tambakis, the pickup with the departure of Cody Mizell, still in goal. San Antonio FC have changed a lot, but they stick with the 4-2-3-1. The one change is on the backline. Mathieu Duplan comes in next to Jasser Kamiri. Another injury, and Axel Schuberg, but in front of them, that half space in between the two center backs, next to PC and Lindley, can they go back and forth and still provide enough opportunities for that front three?
Last time these teams met in San Antonio, New Mexico ousted SAFC from the Western Conference quarterfinal in extra time last year. Wake up, it's San Antonio, New Mexico when we return. San Antonio FC and New Mexico United set to kick off here deep in the heart of Texas. From Toyota Field, it's the USL Championship on ESPN. San Antonio coming off a game against Colorado Springs that felt a little bit more like bubble hockey. Back and forth it went. New Mexico coming off a 2-1 win against Charleston at the Lab. And we are underway. San Antonio playing host, looking for a bit of revenge after last year's quarterfinal playoff ouster. New Mexico into possession in yellow. Dev, you mentioned it right at the outset. It can feel a bit like death by 1,000 draws. That's been the case in San Antonio for a while, but when you aren't getting three-point performances consistently, it kept them in the mix. If you get a couple wins here this week, suddenly you're right in playoff position, exactly where you want to be.
They're also playing in the most difficult division in the entire USL Championship. Get that out of the way.
Yes.
The fact that you have all of these injuries as well, very difficult, Mike, to maintain any sort of chemistry, yet alone garner results. So the draws do keep you right in it. But Alan Marcina knows they need 3 points, and they need it now. You know, you get the first win since May 22nd, that's great. But that's over. You have to continue to move on short rest here, turn it around, and make a statement at home against a quality side like New Mexico United.
Suggs delivers. Wafted away by Gleedle. Recovered by Bruce. And the Englishman drives in. Tricky as ever. Martinez. Josh Suggs will throw. Captains the side from Las Cruces in New Mexico. Talk about Suggs from day one when he came into the franchise, where the intangibles he brought to the culture Troy Lesesne is trying to build. Still 7 from the inaugural roster in 2019 that had such a magical Open Cup run. Falling short away to Minnesota United in the quarterfinals. Lost at the feet of Tenari. Quickly recovered. Taken on by Lemma.
The relationship on the interior for Michael Azira and Andrew Tenari is going to have to be at top level tonight, Mike. And the fact that you get the coverage defensively with Juan Pablo Guzman and how good of a 1-2 punch it's been between he and Andrew Tenari. I like the shift into Michael Azira. The question is can they maintain the same sort of quality, little back and forth on the inside that we've seen out of Juan Pablo Guzman? And defensively, that's the big question for me. This front three has a lot of freedom, but then defensively, as they start to go, they open themselves up. I would say the key areas are that little tweak in the midfield, Azira and Tenari. When one goes, you have to create a balance with the way that Lindley and PC like to distribute to Cuello in the 10, and then also just in behind the likes of Daniel Bruce and Josh Suggs.
Devin, you have to appreciate those San Antonio jerseys, right?
I'm in for it. I'm still waiting on mine in the mail, by the way. I think it got lost.
San Antonio FC, owned by Spurs Sports and Entertainment, so a bit of obvious crossover there. PC does well to get this down the middle of the field, and Lindley to the feet of Epps. Epps from a long way out, trying to challenge Timbakis early.
This is the space I talk about, Mike, where the inversion, as Tenari and Azira come a little bit higher, you've got to have enough coverage. That's Azira coming in on the backside of that. Marcus Epps, Gallegos, some of the best in the business, understanding when they can start to pinch. Now, they'll hold and allow overlapping runs to come from the outside backs in Lemma and Gleedle, but they're so good in one-on-one opportunities and attacking that back line.
Ball for Sandoval. Away by Kamiri, the Tunisian international. One cap, picked it up in 2020. Suggs, Sandoval.
Oops.
Nutmegs Lemma.
Forgot something.
Devin, I think anyone who thinks of New Mexico purely in the terms of that Open Cup run is missing what a tremendous story that franchise has been over the last 3 years. And watching them, there's a reason why everyone we speak to around the Western Conference is toying around with that word elite in describing what they can be.
Well, you nailed it, Mike. Over the last 3 years, 2019 is over and done. A lot of people don't know that. They keep looking back on, oh, this is what they did, this magical run, that's great, but that was a standard setter. That's not good enough for them anymore. They've moved beyond that, right? So it's league play, it's Open Cup play, it's taking the next step within this organization, promoting within the youth ranks. They want to compete at an elite level. They want that term used about them. You have to show results. And Troy Lesesne made reference to the likes of El Paso Locomotive. That is the standard, right? Phoenix Rising. Those teams are what they are chasing right now. They know they haven't done anything yet. So it's great to be talked about, teams like that, used in the same reference point, but they're not there yet. They've got a long way to go.
New Mexico made clear in our chat with Troy Lesesne that they were just a few penalties, a few inches away from getting past El Paso and into the Western Conference Final a year ago. El Paso moved on and themselves fell in penalties to Phoenix. The plunge to the feet of Kamiri. And back to Cardoni. 94th appearance for San Antonio. Nicholas Murray had an article on USLChampionship.com with him a short time back. He said it's cool to be considered in the same breath as the great Greg Cochran, who's the all-time leader, but maybe not for long in appearances for SAFC. Oh, that was clever enough. Martinez. Martinez cracking the cross. That's easy for Cardoni.
Patience is something that's really grown within this squad over past year to year and a half, Mike, really. And obviously they've brought in a bunch of new pieces, but the ability to actually slow the game down, you know, digest what's in front of you and then make a quality decision. That 2019 team was all about transitional moments, right? You get Josh Suggs running downhill, find Devin Sandoval. Of course, the great moves by Frater up top on not just the Open Cup run, but league play, and they had to evolve. One-dimensional is no longer an option to be successful within this league. You have to find ways to break down your opposition in other methods, and they've done that. And now the consistency factor. Can they do it week in and week out?
Gallegos sending Quayle. That's no trouble at all for the first team All-League, Kalen Ryden.
You know, conversely, for a team like San Antonio FC, I've maintained this the entire season so far, and you know, third of the way through. In terms of total team performance, said this in the Colorado Springs matchup, that one of the best I've seen all season long is from San Antonio FC. The problem is you have to go back to early to mid-May to see that, right? So there's a stretch of games within there that we referenced in the Open. 7 games winless. You finally get back on track against Colorado Springs, and yes, there are only 3 losses to their tally overall. But that doesn't put you in a good spot moving forward.
Brilliant ball forward here from Lindley, but lost by Gleibel.
It's great that you don't lose. It's certainly not good that you're not picking up points, right? But all of the injuries, it's been a rotating door. Literally the walking wounded for San Antonio FC. So I commend Alan Marcin and Nick Evans, the entire staff, of what they've been able to do. 11 players, 49 games. Mike, we're 13 games into the season.
Just a cool average of 4.5 games missed.
And yet they're still right where they're at, right? Nobody looks at this team and says that's a poor team. Everybody looks and says they're an extremely dangerous squad who is struggling with health right now. You get all those guys healthy, get them back on track, fantastic.
Picked up by Tim Bacchus, who's played the last few years under Dave Sarakin. There's Alan Marcina, 41 years old, will turn 42 in a week and a half time. Has been a head coach here in San Antonio in the NASL. Time at Des Moines Menace, the powerhouse in USL League 2. And an assistant under Darren Powell, taking over the job in 2020. Suggs. Suggs, epic ball, back heel is high from Martinez. Well, Martinez isn't making any friends, even though he missed, running over in front of the supporters, but this would have been special.
When you talk to Troy Lesane about the movement by Josh Suggs, switching him from the left side to the right, this is why. It's all about distribution into the box. Finding one of those options that I mentioned, whether it's Isidro Martinez, Devin Sandoval, or Sergio Rivas breaking through, Suggs is always going to put it on a platter. Can you be one of the pieces to get on the end of it? That's the key question for New Mexico United inside the top of the 18.
Schmidt. Martinez. Came off Quayle, who spent the past few years at LA Galaxy. Good from Ryden. Pushed ahead by Azira. And wide for Suggs. Suggs. Since 1947, Select has been the leader in soccer ball quality and innovation. Select is the official ball supplier of the USL Championship and many of the elite leagues throughout Europe. For the latest Select products and special offers, visit selectsportamerica.com. That ball's largely been plastered to New Mexican feet. And a good run through pressure by Azira. Winds it wide for Bruce. Collects in front of Gleedle. Azira wants it to feet and quickly got a shot away. Appeal for a handball coming off Kamiri. Natalie Simon points. And an injured player, if you can believe it, for San Antonio. PC is down. Just returned against Colorado Springs, having missed 6. Let's get another look at this.
This is really difficult to tell, Mike, because the arm at start is really close to the torso. The problem is you see it extend away a little bit from that angle. That's a tough decision for the referee, especially in a transitional moment like that. Heck of a tackle by Azira in the midfield to push through PC and then continue the run forth. A lot of options for New Mexico United as they did continue to really pound the top, and that's what Troy Lesesne talks about, right? Doesn't matter what sort of possession you carry, how many opportunities you create. If they're not quality, what does it matter? You want 20 strikes from 20, 25 yards out, or do you want 5 or 6 within close range? More importantly, do you want 5 or 6 where you have multiple options to pick out? An Illich strike from 20 yards out, or a ball back across the middle where you've got 3 or 4 guys coming. It all started with Azira on the run, but the tackle on PC, can he continue after something like this? Just locking limbs there with Michael Azira.
Player who came up through Corinthians. Attempted a falling makeshift bicycle. It's Mark Dos Santos who first got eyes on PC. Eventually time in Orlando and Vancouver. He's returned to the field. And Deplon is the hottest topic in the French newspapers, it turns out. There are apparently 4 different teams intrigued by the idea of Deplon returning to France for the upcoming season. The transfer window's open, Devin.
Is that you stepping into the agent world right there, just putting some feelers out?
Not in a million years.
Diversifying your portfolio right in front of me.
Sandoval chases Kamiri.
You're going to open up another LLC. I got a guy. Just saying. I know a guy.
Ripped out by Schmidt. Closing in on a quarter hour in here in San Antonio. The USL League meetings coming this week as well. This sort of the showcase game at the tail end of that time. Executives from USL Championship and USL League One sides all coming together. Devin, I thought one thing that was intriguing was Mark Cartwright appearing, the new sporting director for the league, who used to be the sporting director at Stoke City. So they're trying to focus on that transfer market a little bit from a championship and a League One level, domestically and internationally. And the concern rises again here.
We'll double back to that in a second as PC down on the ground once again, Mike, and this team. I said this to Alan Marcina before the Colorado Springs game. It's like, buddy, what do you have to do, man? Buy a vowel. Santiago Patino most recently, Ollie Wright still out. There was the Connor Maloney injury, who he's finally back within selection in the 18, been quite some time. One of their captains, first time ever all season. PC goes down against Colorado Springs, down again here. Doing battle with Azira in the midfield. There's not much to it for sure, but definitely enough to send him packing just after the quarter hour mark, and you really hope he's okay. What an important piece he is to this squad. And then another one to the body count for San Antonio FC.
And see shaking his head, he applauds the fans, but it does lead to the debut here of Mohamed Abu. came up through 5 years at Manchester City, was loaned out 7 times, never appeared for the Premier League giant. Full Ghanaian international, debuts tonight for San Antonio, surely far earlier than he anticipated. And of course, a sub window used as well here by San Antonio.
Obviously not one that you're expecting, but now that talking point, Mike, of the central midfielder New Mexico United becomes even more interesting with the change of PC going off due to injury. What's the relationship between he and Cam Lindley like?
Oh, excellent. Nathan rolls that forward. Timbakis headed away from Nathan. Galidal collects. First touch of the ball for Abu. Won't be any magic on that effort. We'll get a second bite of the apple should he choose. Lindley. Lemma. Epps running downhill. Epps cuts. Epps delivers. Ringing off of Schmidt. Gallegos. Back heel there fell apart from Nathan. Stepping in was Quayle.
Start with Sam Galidal here on the buildup. And this is where New Mexico United has done their homework, but they get fooled. Against Colorado Springs, Galidal plays that ball inside and then pitches out, gets it back, cuts in, and makes the run that led to the penalty. The switch here by Marcus Epps and Gallegos is what I love. I want to see that more. Challenge the exterior of New Mexico United, that space in behind Josh Suggs and Daniel Bruce, Mike, that I talked about. Great little inversion by Gallegos the first time, Marcus Epps the second time. Really the first opportunity we've seen them being threatening moving forward.
And looking for Nathan again, but this is steered back to Timbakis. Nathan scoring his first 2 goals of the season against Colorado Springs. Acquired on loan from Brazilian side Coritiba, 2nd division in Brazil in April.
Those are little things, Mike, that you don't get to develop when there's so many players in and out of a lineup. Those subtle nuances. It's the cut inside, the understanding that that run from Galidal is always going to be there, and it has been. But you rotate holding midfielders, the wingers, the formation. Philosophy stays the same for sure. Tete gets himself into trouble here. But once you get those repetitions, game after game, it's a sixth sense, Mike, and you're moving forward. You know where the space is, but who's going to step into it? You don't have to worry about it anymore. It's this free-flowing movement from San Antonio FC. That's the step out of the middle from Cuello. You get the touch inside. Now, whether it's Lemma starting to move forward in the overlapping run, your 10 coming down into the channel, Nathan can drop underneath, Epps and Gallegos can bridge into the final third. That's what San Antonio FC have been lacking over the past 7 to 8 games. Not their fault. They're just finally starting to get players back.
Cuello will put this in play. Nothing on that set piece, and even less on the follow. Fans, the USL is committed to supporting the LGBTQ+ community through the Forever Proud project. The USL will strive to create safe, welcoming environments for all fans, players, employees, and partners. You can learn more at uslsoccer.com/forever-proud. And that's been a large talking point at these league meetings this week as well, from what we've heard, coming up with more actionable ways to demonstrate the social impact projects that the USL and, of course, the clubs themselves and individual players have championed over the past few years, in particular the Forever Proud project and United Against Racism. Bring that into the community in more actionable ways. Set piece one here by New Mexico. Is it Zach Prince who's the set piece master?
You know it. Extra study sessions after work for Zach Prince. He gives these guys the blueprint for success, and a team that's really well regimented. Still, something that I find very interesting about New Mexico United is they actually script what order they're going to go after their set pieces prior to the match. So when you walk in, first 5 or 6, now there are always going to be variations of it, but you have an exact idea of what plays you're going to run. I'd never heard of that before. Normally you hear coaches, you go with numbers, there's cue words.
In Las Vegas a few years ago, there were
Boards.
cue cards.
Yeah, exactly. Took a page out of college football, right? The Oregon Ducks. I remember one of my coaches, one of my favorite was always countries. So we would run Argentina, Brazil, France, and there was no real rhyme or reason behind why we called them that. But that was our understanding of, okay, here's what we're going to run next.
And for some reason, Germany always won.
Yeah, go figure, right?
Bouncing ball forward. Maybe Apps can do something with this. Oh, epic win of the ball by Lemma. And Lemma pushes through. Nathan slides. Didn't get a piece. And we're seeing those little moments from San Antonio where they have that bite to their attack, that verticality coming off winning the ball.
This is a converted number 8 central midfielder, Chris Lemma from New York Red Bull. You can talk about his 1v1 defending. You can talk about the overlapping runs. What you can't talk about is his ability to break those lines and distribute going forward. It's a very difficult ball after the challenge because once you win this 50-50, Mike, you have a split second to make a decision and pick out your runner moving forward. That's what you get out of Chris Lemma, out of that left back spot.
It is a throw for Lemma, who captained Red Bull 2. Saw Cameron Lindley there. Last time you saw him, he was 23. Now he's 24. Saturday's game on ESPN2, the final day before jumping into whole new year.
Wise beyond his years now.
Yeah. New year, new you.
He's really matured over the past couple of days, to be fair.
Okay.
One of the more underrated players in this league, if you look at Cam Lindley, what he brings to your squad.
You just hear fitness is off the charts. You're talking 12, 13 kilometers a game.
He's very efficient as well, and you know, with a really good understanding, Mike, positionally, because of his high IQ, never stops moving, which brings in the fitness part, but more importantly, someone else steps, he knows where to cover, he knows what space he can and cannot occupy, and he knows when he take his chances too. You won't see him trying to bridge the gap from here. You know, if he wants to ping this ball, which he's so good at, 40 yards on a rope, but a giveaway there is okay. It's a giveaway in his own half, 15 yards outside his own box is where holding midfielders can get themselves into trouble. You don't get that out of Cam Lindley. Tactful in nature, 5, 10-yard touches, and if he wants to go long, he's going to give his guys an opportunity to get to it, knowing that if there is a mistake, defensively they're covered.
That hung up a bit on Gleedle, and Schmidt steps in. It's with San Antonio. Three points puts them in 5th. 6 points puts them in 3rd. That's the kind of week they can have, sitting 6th in the 7-team Mountain Division, which even to the greatest of prognosticators is anybody's guess right now. Lindley swept that forward. Quayle. Lemma.
Unless we forget that New Mexico United, regardless of result tonight, El Paso Locomotive on the weekend.
Huge.
That's a fun one. RGV will take on Austin. We've already seen how that goes before. Austin, one of the first teams to knock off RGV this season. Only 3 losses overall. And New Mexico United, Troy Lesane, he's a realist. He doesn't really care about the white noise around him, does he?
No.
You know, he understands that it's great that people want to talk about us that way, but again, I go back to what I said right around the 10, 15-minute mark. They haven't done anything yet, Mike. I appreciate that because it's easy to get caught up in the hype, right?
He spoke to us about sort of the pillars, the ethos of the organization. He said hard work, diligence, and humility. And when we brought up the quotes we had ascertained from other coaches around the Western Conference, and elite is the word we kept hearing over the past few months, that the roster had that potential. Said in the vein of humility, take that as a compliment, and we still have to earn it. Epps ran out of real estate, but won the corner for San Antonio. A side who everybody thought was elite last year, only 3 losses in the regular season in 16 games. Tom Bacchus, the USL Championship equivalent of a Greek freak. The Athenian goalkeeper. And this is an unforced error from San Antonio. Mexico's taking their time here. And the foul from Kamiri. A free kick for Justin Schmidt, Albuquerque native. Mama, piano teacher, his dad, a music major. He's a piano and ukulele enthusiast.
He's had quite the journey, Justin Schmidt.
Sure has.
Past 24 months.
Oh, flag is down. Nathan surely didn't expect that much room. Nathan won a free kick. That's found money for San Antonio.
He didn't even think that he was in an onside position, actually slowed up to check over the shoulder as to whether or not he was allowed to play on. Little quick peek at the linesman, back to business. Good work back by Andrew Tenori. I love the little tuck inside here for Nathan. What you want to see from San Antonio UFC, Mike, is if he is able to complete this run on that little touch through, what are the options moving forward? That's one of the things that you really have to pay attention to for San Antonio, because at times it's short-sighted on these free-flowing movements. It's only 2 or 3 guys when they need a solid 4 or 5 to attack New Mexico United.
Well, this bounces through to Kamiri.
Little deflection, pinch back to the top. Close twice. Love the one off Tete on the backside, almost catches the hand here. Quite shocked, to be honest, with all the yellow jerseys that you're allowed to get a shot off there.
Across the half-hour mark in San Antonio. USL Championship on ESPN on this Wednesday night. Knotted out of play. Devin, coming into this game, we spoke with both coaches for Troy Lesane. They've changed their formation a little bit. They're trying to be more aggressive in their attacking movements, make the best out of possession. For San Antonio, they've changed formations recently as well. Ended a 7-match winless skid that stretched back to the final week of May. Has anything surprised you as we close in on the last quarter hour of the first half?
Nothing surprised me. It's more frustration for San Antonio, the fact that that's a foul. A rough one, too.
Abu went down.
They're not as comfortable on the ball as I thought they would have been. Now, to be fair, PC's injury really disrupted that, right? They had a decent start in midfield and tried to move this thing side to side. They're still trying to figure out where those attacking components are coming from for New Mexico United. But United haven't exactly been overly threatening moving forward either, have they? You know, the one-offs that I just alluded to for San Antonio, you're seeing the same thing for New Mexico. So it is success on the back line of sorts when you look at Alan Marcina's squad in black. And you know, the change for New Mexico United, Mike, people get caught up in formations, but it is a basis for something. This is about getting dangerous players on the ball to give yourself better chances in the final third.
Bruce drops off Tenari.
So that effort right there is exactly what plagued them earlier on this season and started to move away from their shape moving forward over the last 5 matches. Remember, lost 3 in a row. Lesane wasn't upset about that. He said he saw the steps that were so positive that they were taking. So as you pinch Rivas and Martinez behind, you think, okay, Sandoval stays up top, they play off in a triangle. Not whatsoever. He'll drop down into the pocket. Either one of the aforementioned could start to step even more further forward. Daniel Bruce, Josh Suggs, they will create the width. And then you'll get an extra run out of Tenari and Azira. But for San Antonio, with the loss of PC, and I just mentioned this before, Lindley and Abu, can you follow all of those players now? When there's 6 guys running at you, can you track back, stop that attack, and then turn and go the other direction? Because right now the answer is no. The answer is when they start to move forward, they're picking out a run of Nathan. You're getting an Epps. But again, it's so isolated, you don't have a lot of options once you progress over half field.
Martinez, and the shot gets away from Rivas, and it's right at Cardoni. And Cardoni drawing cheers from a partisan San Antonio crowd. And perhaps it's ironic, this isn't to take even an inch off the importance of PC to how San Antonio would like to play. They felt a little bit more explosive in the minutes coming out of that, didn't they?
Yes, absolutely. Again, a lot of rotation for New Mexico United. The good thing is that their staff, they're well prepared for this game. They knew exactly where that was going to come from. Execution is another story. The game plan, though, is set there for them. But look at how deep you start to come. All the yellow jerseys start to converge. Got to find a way to provide more support, because as you start to play through Cuello and Gallegos comes inside, it's great that they're in tandem off of each other, but where's the next option come from? If you can step on it, recycle, go the other direction, that's a look you can start to work with. Now you start to spread New Mexico United even further apart. Can you find Lindley? You know, he's going to be the ace in the hole right now on these long balls up over the top of the stretch, and then everybody start to follow suit.
Gallegos, special, unique, the adjectives, rolls this across Nathan, sweeps it in, San Antonio leads. Three goals in 2 games for Nathan, and Gallegos provides again.
Just leading up into the question was, can you find Lindley? But if he steps out, what's the next best option? Doesn't have to be best. It's just as suitable. Abu coming through the midfield. There's the long ball that you want to stretch. Now where do the options come from? One-on-one, that's a winning battle every single time. Speed, low center of gravity. Jose Gallegos has it all. He sees it, explodes under the byline, and there's the trailing run. Not 1, but 2 options on the back post for San Antonio UFC. But you find Nathan just inside the top of the 6-yard box, Mike. Winning equation every single time on this transitional movement by San Antonio FC.
And Tambakis asking more of this back line from New Mexico. Nathan, who started peeking out in a couple games against Liga MX sides in San Antonio the past couple of weeks. Some international friendlies and 2 goals against Colorado Springs on Saturday, announcing himself to a national audience once again tonight. And he's after this now. He's rounded the keeper. Nathan turns behind Epps. Gallegos chasing and called away by Azira. And New Mexico is playing a dangerous game right now. Nathan flying with confidence. And finally, Devin, we saw Jose Gallegos get on the ball. He'd been so infrequent in this game. This is a 19-year-old kid, Young Player of the Year finalist last year, trained 2 weeks with Bayern. They've had conversations with Barcelona. Massive clubs are watching Gallegos. And finally a point to his name. And he's after this again. And Dev, that's where having a guy like Mark Cartwright is going to help moving forward for the USL. If you're trying to move a guy like Gallegos into a major international transfer market, you look to a guy who ran Stoke City for a while.
Some people might look at that and say, why though? It's great that he has success, but why bring him in? I'll tell you why. The experience is the easy answer, right? More importantly, it's USL trying to bridge a gap, Mike, of a 100-year head start, honestly. Yeah. Look at the UK and how far back this beautiful game predates what's going on here in the United States. You bring a guy like that over with all of that experience, the pedigree, the knowledge. You're compacting that into an organization that says, okay, we're not going to hire from within. We're going to go get someone who has been through those trials and tribulations, who's going to lead us down the right path. They want to go youth. They want to sell. They want to develop. They want to do all of that. Why would you start from scratch when you have someone like that who can lead you in the appropriate direction? It's a perfect hire.
And for both these clubs that have been so vocal about building their academies, the San Antonio Pro Academy has put players into the first team here the past few years. Martinez sends a can of corn that Cardoni recovers comfortably and quickly launches out for Gleedle. Gallego is sidecar. Away from Gleedle, Gallegos. Abu. Tenari got a touch. And for New Mexico, the Somos Unidos Foundation is covering the cost for the entire academy for New Mexico United. When we spoke to Troy Lassane, it sounded like the dirtiest words in the English language were pay to play.
You have to find ways to adapt, right? And everybody's different. You know, different methods for New Mexico United. I agree with them. You know, more importantly, they're continuing to cultivate all of the talent within their community. He said selfishly, we're trying to find a way to make this easier on us. You know, you don't have to go into the transfer market and figure out where the next player is going to come from.
You and I spoke to folks from Bayern Munich a couple of years ago, and they said we totally redid our entire structure because we can't pay for 11 players to start on the international transfer market. We got to make some players come up from our own system. You think Brendan Aronson paid a few bills?
I've heard of him.
With his transfer?
That's Brendan Burke.
True enough. Well, Abu is nose to nose with Natalie Simon. Simon, who's worked games in League One, the Championship, MLS, and the NWSL this year.
Mike, go back to the goal here for a second because I talked to you about defensively what would go on between Michael Azir and Andrew Tenari. Watch the trailing jerseys in the midfield here because as you shift it to the far side, New Mexico United starts to slide over. Look at the gap to the left of the referee. Marcus Epps starts to drag, and Nathan gets lost in translation. He's on the back shoulder of Kalen Ryden. Tete doesn't pick him up because he's actually worried about that run over the right shoulder because Tenari and Azira don't communicate to pick up Epps on that little inversion. It's that half space that San Antonio FC operates through to pick out their opening goal.
And that caused the pouring smoke from the Crocketeers in Mission City 118. Suggs, well, diving header comes out to Gallegos, who stabs it aside. Lost by Lindley. Tenari. Beyond Sandoval. Gleedle.
A little switch here. Josh Suggs in. Daniel Bruce, got to find a way to balance this attack. Everything has been down the right flank for New Mexico United. Look how wide Josh Suggs is, and if you're going to gamble that way, be careful because this is exactly what can happen.
Nathan rolling forward. Apps Stares down the barrel, side steps. Offside flag goes up. Picture perfect night in San Antonio to come out and watch the local side. And they've attained the opening goal. Nathan in the 35th minute is third in the last 2 league games. And New Mexico playing from behind. Ironically, something he didn't do in the 3 losses in a row. Look at Nathan. Nathan trying to get around. Did Timbakis catch him? Natalie Simon says no. Will roll back. New Mexico's 3-game road losing streak, Devin. They didn't concede first in any of the 3, believe it or not. So maybe it's a good omen that San Antonio grabbed the opening goal if you're New Mexico. Of course, those could be the rosiest of glasses.
Not every game is going to be a 5-0 win that you score 3 in the first half, 2 in the second, make 5 changes, call it a day, cup of tea, and early shower, right? Character. It's character building. Is there a touch? I don't see it. The argument is maybe on that right knee, but I still don't see it. And definitely a little elaboration on the backside by Nathan.
Epps charges down the line again. Bruce puts this out. Tenari shrugging. Perhaps there was a better way. It does belong here to San Antonio for a corner. Coming up at halftime, Scott Stewart will have a chat with our partners at Puma. Take a look at first half highlights and more. While we have a moment, congratulations, Kelsey Steele from Steal Some Time, Scott Stewart's longtime podcast partner, and has just been covering this league with such tremendous enthusiasm for years, joining the PGA Tour. So congrats, Kelsey, as San Antonio prepares to take the corner here. Gallegos. Ball lobbed into the air. Nathan heads it down and snagged cleanly by Timbakis.
This is concerning on this ball all the way to the back post that no one's challenging it from New Mexico United. Look how flat-footed. That's got to be better from Justin Schmidt, from Josh Suggs. Simple enough. You can't allow this ball uncontested to come all the way back across on a free header for San Antonio. That's the frustration by Kalen Ryden. As he drifts to the runner, Mike, somebody else has to step through. And you can't be backpedaling. You have to attack this ball.
2 added minutes, and Gallegos pumping the brakes, slamming the accelerator on and off. Deplan. Epps was offside. Puzzled Troy Lesane looks on. Dapper as ever. An oldie but a goodie, that suit. Devin, the fashion icon that he is going, I think I've seen that tie before. Maybe the jacket too.
But he accessorizes. He knows how to work it.
That's how you do it.
I'll give it to him, you know. A little bit difference in height, but same taste. You know, we can't shop in each other's closets. Well, maybe if we shared a tailor, for sure, but he dresses well. He didn't win Best Dressed a couple years ago, did he?
He did not, but he won Coach of the Year, so
I guess that's a good runner-up.
Dr. Cardone here is trying to hold a clean sheet here for San Antonio through this first half, Devin, and San Antonio does have that 35th minute goal from Nathan as we approach halftime.
They've been the more dangerous team moving forward. I mean, just understanding that this team was always about finding the levels to play through, and they've done that so far. I was just talking about those long balls up over the top that are usually Cam Lindley, because BC will sit, they'll find Cam Lindley, 30, 40-yard ball, spray left and right, let's go. Instead, Lindley steps one way, Mohamed Abu, substitute for PC, comes in, stretches the game, you go to work. They have the options. The options, by the way, that New Mexico United talked to us about, and that change up top where you bring Martinez and Rivas underneath Sandoval, are why they have been much better moving forward. We haven't seen that at all in the first half. You can build through the middle, you can do whatever you want, but if you can't give yourself the option to score once you progress towards your opposition, that's why you're down 1-0 at halftime. San Antonio's got to be happy. Defensively, they stayed compact, picked and chosen their moments going forward. That's a quality first half from the home squad.
Gallegos and Nathan connect to the exuberation of the fans here in San Antonio. The players walked out to a stadium alight in the 2-1-0 of San Antonio. New Mexico trails at halftime. A message from our friends at Puma. Look at first half highlights when we return to the USL on ESPN.
From all of us here at the SAFC family, we'd like to take a very special minute to thank all of our essential workers. Thank you for your bravery. Thank you for your dedication to this city. Thank you for continually putting your lives at risk for the greater good.
Welcome back to the USL on ESPN. San Antonio FC and New Mexico United at halftime. Last November, the USL announced a new partnership with global apparel giant Puma. For more on that partnership, to USL's Scott Stewart.
Hey everybody, Scott Stewart here from USL. Proud to be joined by Puma's John Miller here for an interview. Talking just the partnership, how it's evolved, and what a bright future we have. So John, thrilled to be spending a few minutes with you. And where I want to go first is it'll be 1 year this fall that USL and Puma have been partnered up together. What initially attracted you to the league, and what are your thoughts on the partnership so far?
Scott, I think Puma and the USL share a lot of mutual interests in terms of growing the sport here domestically. For us, the mutual experience of offering access to the sport to numerous marketplaces across North America is really what grew us. And then, of course, the great team at the USL, the great leadership team there, has been tremendous to work with from the get-go.
And as you survey the soccer landscape, how does the USL fit into sort of this space that you guys are, being more than groundbreaking in so far?
Soccer as a category is a growth silo for the Puma brand. So when you look at the addition of our partnership with the USL, that's just another element of our continued investment in the sport.
Well, we've already seen some great things, and we know there are many great things ahead. Puma's John Miller joining us today. John, thank you so much for your time, and we're looking forward to an incredible future for both Puma and the United Soccer League.
Thanks to Scott and Puma North America Senior Vice President John Miller. Bright future ahead indeed. We have first half highlights from San Antonio when we return to the USL on ESPN. Welcome back to the USL Championship on ESPN. We are only halfway to Goodnight Moon here in San Antonio. 1-0 to the home side over New Mexico United. Welcome back into the booth, everybody. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr. Dev, what do you make out of that first half? Certainly New Mexico would like to do more offensively if you're San Antonio lost PC, but you do have a lead.
Hometown heroes. San Antonio FC look great. They stayed compact. Good composure on the ball, good composure defensively, very compact when they started to move back. I like the transitional movement going forward. New Mexico United needs balance. The early start was on the right-hand side. On this ball whipped in by Josh Suggs to find the back heel of Isidro Martinez. But that's really what it looked like. These were the woes that they dealt with at the beginning of the season. We talked a little bit about it in the opening 45 minutes. These half chances from distance, they're not very efficient, Mike. Not whatsoever. You have to find ways to break them down in a different method. And more importantly, you can't be so lethargic on the ball. Josh Suggs can't give this opportunity up. You have to step into it. Instead, Chris Lemma steps into it, finds a great run up top by Nathan. Can't pick him out. But that was sort of the turning point for San Antonio FC in the first half. PC out, Abu in, longa ball up over the top. Gallegos goes to work one-on-one, and the explosion of speed down to the byline. That's what you want to watch here. And then the options on the back post. Not one, but two San Antonio FC players. You grab Nathan on the first one. You had Epps if need be, but you don't. Beautiful ball across. Even better finish by Nathan.
That is a 2-yard tap in. Nathan's third in 2 games. Here's first half stats and possession heavily in San Antonio's favor.
Latter portion of the first half, though. That was skewed the other direction for United at the beginning. Troy Lessane's going to be concerned because of the fact that when they're building, they're only building through one side. They build down the right flank, they come back to the middle, long ball up over the top, and that's it. It's one-dimensional. It's 6 games back. That progression he talked about over the past 5 matches is not there anymore. And for San Antonio FC, great opening 45 minutes. Tactically, it's going to change. Can you change with the times and still be successful?
San Antonio does hold the lead, but they have lost their captain for the night. Can Alan Marcina's side see it out an inch closer to the playoff line? USL Championship on ESPN. Fearless leader, Jake Edwards, USL president, up in the suites. That's Mark Cartwright, the former sporting director at Stoke City, now the sporting director for the United Soccer League. Just having a quick chin wag.
It's got to stay hydrated.
Yeah, true enough.
It's a small window you got to work with at halftime. 15 minutes, some carbs in the popcorn.
Yeah.
A little glass of water, little ice, be on your way.
Told that R.C. Buford, Tim Holt from Spurs Sports and Entertainment in attendance tonight. Peter Trevisani from New Mexico United taking part in the league meetings. And when you speak to both these coaches, they speak about the willingness to differentiate from the ownership group to the executive leadership all the way down their organization. They feel like they've got the right people in the right places to get where they want to go, and that's why they're the envy of so many around the USL Championship and beyond. Underway in this second half from San Antonio. Mountain Division clash here on ESPN between San Antonio and New Mexico. New Mexico sitting third in the Mountain Division, San Antonio in sixth. Toyota Field in Texas. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr for the call of this one. Mexico, 2 consecutive wins. A side that had to play Road Warriors all of 2020. Did not get a home game at the Lab. Ball rolled wide here, Gleedle. And Devin, a ton of credit to what Troy Lesane had to do. Part of the reason he won Co-Coach of the Year with Ian Russell, who you and I respect so very much as well, was that his side had to do it away from Albuquerque the entire year. Brutal.
They got one home game.
One.
In theory.
Yes.
the one home game on the road.
There were some fans in Colorado Springs when they played some of their quote-unquote home games there that came out to support them in New Mexico gear, and some fans from New Mexico made the trip.
That's class, though.
It is. Corner here, San Antonio. That glides away. A boo with the collision, and that'll draw some ire from the crowd. And you got a chance to see it on Saturday again, but the new Widener Field in downtown Colorado Springs. If you're New Mexico, you're thinking, man, why couldn't we play some more games there?
I'm sure they're happy to be back at the Lab, though. Isotopes Park.
Just a clean 10,000 or so they tend to bring in, and they're at 100% capacity for their game against El Paso on the weekend.
Got the opportunity to interview Kalen Ryden for USL All Access on Sirius XM-FC, and shot him a stat. 88% of games running through the Lab end up at points in their back pocket. Huge. That's home field advantage if you've ever seen it. And still the success in 2020. COVID era, away from home, ability to put together quality results, then add another dimension to this team.
Devin, you called their Cinco de Mayo game in 2019. Was it 13,000 plus?
Still recovering from it. And an announcer with me that actually pushed me through the wall when they scored.
Bruce cutting back, laying off, and away by Izira. Once upon a time scored a championship clinching goal in 2012 for Charleston. Went on to win the Open Cup and the Supporters Shield in Seattle.
Troy Lesane brings him in. The experience with, of course, the Charleston Battery. Playing for them and Mike Anhauser and Zach Prince as well. He and David Estrada, teammates for the Seattle Sounders. That was an easy fix, right? David Estrada retires in the offseason, moves into the front office. It's one of my arguments to you always within a club and within an organization, how it can't just be, let's bring a player in. You have to set yourself up for success in all areas. You keep your assets around you, even when the playing days are done, and that can occur for a player at 17 years of age or 35 years of age. You know, what's the next logical step for them? You put so much finances into someone. Why would you turn around and get rid of all that? Take advantage.
Martinez wants to go for goal. Cardoni knew that was wide of the post. Martinez, former Texas High School Gatorade Player of the Year at Simon Rivera High School. Not a bad catch in the stands, however.
It's a slow start, to be fair, by the goalkeeper. Cardoni, instead of sliding, was actually stepping out in front and side to side. A little trouble seeing it coming over the wall, dipping at the tail end. And they've got to work this side now. I'll talk to you about it. At around 70% of their attack in the first half, moving down the right flank. They switched Daniel Bruce and Josh Suggs. They've gone back to the opening plan. Doesn't matter what the tweak is. Got to find a way to build through it, and the space is there. Defensively, there's nothing crazy being thrown at them by San Antonio.
Roll back to Cardoni here.
You do see the respect, though, that's being given by this back line and Sam Glito and Chris Lemma. They know United wants to build through their numbers. You know, whether they're playing off their point man and Devin Sandoval and then guys coming up underneath or balls down into the channels. There's not a massive amount of movement going forward from Chris Lemma and Sam Glito. Of course, they're involved in the attack, but it's not two-pronged at any point in time. They're always sitting at least three on that back line. And as they come forward, even right now, notice you've got Nathan who shifts, you've got Gallegos, Epps has come to the inside, and Cuello. None of the outside backs moving in transition. They have to keep the shape because if it breaks down, you've got to have coverage.
This is turned back over to San Antonio. Part of our conversation with Troy Lesane was that in changing formations to a 3-4-3, the goal was to have the numerical and I suppose tactical 7 and 11, Martinez and Rivas, playing higher. Well, that can pin your fullbacks pretty well at times.
Of course. The next argument, though, is the space is going to be on the field. Where do you find it? So if the outside backs sit, okay, you got a one-on-one right now with Daniel Bruce. He plays in, but you're still locked down. This is where the extra step has to come from Azira and Tenari on the inside, or you play off the guys up top, but rotation every time.
Sandoval again. Martinez, a third block. Rolling through it, Jasser Kamiri. The plan was there as well, and the crowd applauds those center backs to Devin's delight. Bouncing and away by Abu. Soft touch by Suggs. Center back stepping up in the absence of Axel Schuberg. Just the latest to go down with an injury. It was in training this week. Machu Duplan was a precautionary late scratch against Colorado Springs on the weekend in warm-ups. Saw Lemma step into the lineup and a collision of players here. It's Kamiri down for San Antonio.
Cedro Martinez right next to him.
Trying to get up, and the athletic trainer get Martinez up off the ground.
Groundhog Day for Alan Marcina. Penny for a thought.
One coach described it like Vegas vacation a few years ago. Braden Cloutier in Orange County, where you're sticking gum in the dam.
Yeah.
And if you're San Antonio, and you look back a few years, it's been this way year after year after year, and it defies logic because they are so analytically in tune and their sports science is fairly advanced. It's almost impossible to have this many players injured this many times, but
and yet
odd collisions and muscle tweaks, and it's just been one thing after another. Good news is Kamiri is back up here. Kamiri was part of a major defensive stand for San Antonio a minute ago.
The plan in on the action, both center backs. And this is the creation that we talked about, Mike. Even though the fact that they build here, notice where all the chances are coming from. 20 yards away. almost last-ditch efforts as well. It's the first strike, good tackle. It's the second strike, another recovery tackle by Duplan. All hands on deck. Jasher Kamiri back across. They'll take that.
You think the Kraken might draft one of those shot blockers? No, we're too late.
Literally missed the window.
Well, play resumes here, and New Mexico driving forward. Effort from Duplan. Suggs won a corner. Josh Suggs, who came out of Colorado Springs, he's been in this league for about a decade now. When he first got to Colorado Springs, it was his wife, his 6-month-old child, living in a $3,500 trailer on the mountains in Colorado. He has since moved into a finely furnished home. He told us earlier this year on Three Honest Lads that his wife does the interior design. Bouncing ball through and lifted away by Epps.
Wasn't part of his course packet in college.
No. But listening to the conversations he had with his dad about furthering his education, about selling that trailer and moving forward in his life, and now coming into New Mexico, closer to home, grew up in Las Cruces. Sounds like he's stabilized here. Not only his own life, but this organization seems more stable with him in it. Although, to be fair, living in a trailer sounds a lot better than living in a van down by the river.
Second all-time in USL Championship minutes. You get a good idea why he is one of the Iron Men within this league. Taylor Mueller is that category currently with Tacoma Defiance. But there's that lineage of the Troy Lesane, the Charleston Battery. Battery once again, Taylor Mueller, the center back under Mike Anhauser. On the East Coast before going all the way to the West.
Pressure on here from New Mexico, and Cardoni's trailing away. He's turned it over to Bruce, who can't get a clean touch. And Lindley pirouettes away.
Heck of a recovery by Cam Lindley, though, to step on this ball and slow things down. It's just an understanding from him in the midfield. The panic button, it's not even an option. You know, that little red button that you want to push, it's not there. He's always quick to pick out that movement going forward. Recognizes where the threat is coming from, and you know, we're approaching 25 seconds now of possession on the ball. They're still where they're at. A lot of patience here for San Antonio FC right now.
And they've zigzagged their way through New Mexico's pressure for the time being. Tremendous.
Watch the space, though. This is where I'm talking about.
Driving forward, long distance effort, Quayle. Off target.
Not the best decision making, but once again, that relationship between Azira and Andrew Tenari breaks down a little bit here, almost because of too much work that Tenari has to chase. They can't rotate over fast enough, and there's 20 yards to work with as the ball comes in to Cuello on the interior. A lot of options moving forward. Doesn't necessarily make the best decision here by Emil Cuello.
Devin, you brought it up in speaking about Cuello. SMU, LA Galaxy, Galaxy 2, San Antonio. Is it a question of finally stabilizing with one coach? I mean, how do you get the best out of them?
Well, it's funny the way I asked it. I was sort of tiptoeing around it with Alan Marcina, leading to the fact that I think he's extremely talented and just hasn't necessarily got a lot of repetitions under the right coach or a single coach in the right system. And he said, yeah, he's probably one of the most talented in the league. So I breathed a sigh of relief, and then he kind of walked us through that, right? It's Kevin Hudson and the wondrous program that is SMU, pumping out products every single year. Then you go to Galaxy. It was the transition with Dennis Ciclosa, the methodology changing. Junior Gonzalez, a great coach with Los Dos, but when you're bouncing back and forth and figuring out different ideas, not a lot of playing time as a player, losing confidence is one thing, but an understanding of what you're supposed to be doing is a whole nother, and that's where he was at. And he's found a home here.
New Mexico does enter the penalty area. They'll loft the cross, seeking Bruce at the back post. Nathan scored in the 35th minute to put San Antonio ahead. If you're SMU, aren't you just licking your chops? San Antonio's putting out all these players from their academy. Dallas has done it for such a long time. Houston, RGV, El Paso, Austin.
Kevin Hudson sitting somewhere going, all right, boys, let's check the back pages today.
Recruit the backyard.
What you guys got for me?
All the clubs in Texas as well.
Much better here. Keep it moving. Avoid the mistakes. We'll take the horizontal play all day long at this point in time. Just start to build a little bit here. This is the rotation that they want. Rivas drops in, Andrew Tenari, watch him slide over. Now this is where they can get themselves into trouble. When Tenari comes in front of Michael Azira and that ball goes over, you've got to be really sure you can connect, because if that ball's on the deck and it breaks down, that's how they got in trouble in the first half. That's the quick counter that San Antonio steps into. Chris Lemma figured that out.
Dangerous ball back, and Nathan will pursue it. This will get into the bleachers. Mexico at this point has to be pondering subs. I think Zach Prince and Troy Lassane.
Ruh-roh.
Considerations, Kamiri is down. You do have Joaquin Varela, but outside of that, it's getting really...
On Liam Doyle. He came on last game.
It's getting thin. Ilya Illich will check in here. Troy Lassane told us this week he's feeling like he's starting to click. Problem being Devin Sandoval didn't see much service in this game, so Illich, who can drop in a little bit more, can play as a 9, but a number 10 as well.
Good little shout between the former teammates there. Ken Lindley and Ilya Illich, their time at Indy 11 under Martin Rennie. Joseph Kamiri, night done. Not a bad performance for the Tunisian. You got to feel the pain for this organization. Obviously, literally and figuratively here. And Liam Doyle will be the one whose number is going to be called with 2 minutes inside the half-hour mark. Another shift on the back line for San Antonio FC. Not a big one. Everybody knows their responsibilities. But the way they've been able to lock things down and the change with Ilya Illich, about to get real interesting.
That's the second sub window and second substitution used by San Antonio. So with PC down as well. Wait a minute, grabbing the keeper, Nathan! He's done it again. It's another brace, and it's jubilation at Toyota Field.
Who's the 9? Who's the 9 for San Antonio FC? Nobody knew. Patino, yes, but the rotation up top, it couldn't be one player. So where's the next option come from with injury? Questions answered, by the way. No goals through 9 matches, 4 in the previous 2. The build out of the back. We've done nothing but applaud New Mexico United for their change and all of their rotation. Hold my water, San Antonio says. Take a seat. Beautiful interchange in the midfield. C on the back line opens up. Nathan sees it. Explosion of speed, tucked in the bottom corner. What a build from this home squad.
4 goals on the year, and they've all been on national TV. And a second assist for Gallegos. His first 2 dimes of the year. Hard to pick which one is better, too. Juan Pablo Guzman and Austin Yearwood came in at the stop for New Mexico. So they've now made 3 changes in 2 windows.
Remember, everything that I said to you about San Antonio FC is when they started to move forward, Mike, it couldn't be one player. That doesn't necessarily mean that everybody has to be spread out. You have to go side to side. When they pounce on this thing in the midfield, there's 4 players around the ball.
Clever flick, long look, hand up.
You can choose exactly where you want to build, and those little touches, they're these finite moments that pull the shape of the back line of New Mexico United out of sorts. That's why this space is available for Nathan to step into.
He's wrecking the game against New Mexico right now. It's Nathan again. The Brazilian Gallegos, prodigious 19-year-old talent. Referee immediately gestures. Gallegos lost the ball cleanly. So Schmidt came off a moment ago in favor of Yearwood. Yearwood's 13th appearance, 2nd time off the bench. Isidro Martinez came off. Guzman's 1st appearance off the bench, his 11th season in the USL. Legend in Charlotte, on to Louisville. He captained the side in their inaugural season. In Oklahoma City, a couple of injury-plagued campaigns, and now to New Mexico. Calm from Cam Lindley. Apps. Quayle. Ricocheted free off of Abu. Sergio Rivas lost the handle. Lemma. Lemma, the former Hoya, again. Back from Quayle. Brought down by Tete. And a foul from Doyle. And a yellow card as well. That may be for the conversation, not for the challenge. And another foul. Quayle picked up the yellow a moment ago, and Liam Doyle making some enemies, and quick restart. Play will come back. Sergio Rivas hobbles away from this, arrived from Mexico as a 7-year-old through the DACA program. Justin Sells, the person who really helped him get into ODP, and Albuquerque Sol while at the University of Seattle. Time in San Jose, and then in Reno under Ian Russell. He's back up, and a free kick for New Mexico. It's launched wide of Cardoni. Looking to start the second half of the season on a high note, Oakland Roots SC welcomes high-powered Phoenix Rising FC when the USL on ESPN continues. Don't miss any of the action from the Golden State. Wednesday, August 4th, 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. No guarantees of any beast quakes from Marshawn Lynch's side. You got to feel for Jordan Farrell's team. There is going to be schedule congestion like no other coming up for them.
Well, they've had injuries as well. Went out into the market and picked up Brandon Allen right when they thought that was going to be their next positive step. A step back. 2 matches due to COVID, and not exactly the start you want as an expansion franchise. A lot of talent on that team, though.
A ton.
Plenty of talent.
I have to imagine, and I'm always unclear where to find good ex-goal information, but you have to think it's not bad for Oakland. Truth of the matter is right now they haven't been on the field enough to totally see what they're capable of. We'll get to see him against the best from the West a year ago, the reigning conference champ Phoenix Rising on August the 4th.
Now the interior is getting real interesting here for New Mexico United, though. Those levels that I talked about, Mike, and their ability to build through them. Starting to poke their head out here. That little tweak has really created an interesting little boxed midfield for black and yellow.
Zira, Yearwood, curling beyond Illich.
He's still going to be the point man, Ilya Illich. Zira, Juan Pablo Guzman underneath. Guzman will always sit. He'll still provide coverage defensively if this does break down, but they've got to start to take chances here with 20 minutes to go. Azira will step up, and so will Tenari and Rivas, who are sitting just in front of him. So both men trying to play off of each other. Can they combine in unison off of number 14, Ilya Illich up top, and still get the presence that they need out of Josh Suggs and Daniel Bruce? The balance for this team just hasn't been there tonight. Scrambling defensively as well. Very uncharacteristic for a Troy Lesesne coach squad. And breakdowns are one thing, but you know, flat out missing marks and chasing downhill, that's not something we regularly see from this squad.
Tete a second time. Comes away with the ball for New Mexico United. Illich, probably the most underappreciated player in the double-double club in USL history, if I had to venture a guess.
We got so spoiled so fast.
2018, he had 13 goals, 10 assists. At the time, it was
72 people did it in 2018.
mind-blowing. True.
No, I mean, to be fair, no one did it. Irvin Parra,
right,
between Tacoma Defiance and Orange County did it in 17.
Right.
And that was, oh my goodness, no one's ever going to do it again. We had 3 or 4 in 18.
Sounds like a Nicholas Murray question to me.
Solomon Asante. No, he did it in 1920.
Yeah. Yeah, just, you know.
No, he did it 18-19. That's right.
Right.
He didn't do it last year because of COVID.
Short season.
We're halfway through the season. He's already done it. Little Ghanaian for Phoenix Rising.
There's another free kick coming for New Mexico. And goodness, Devin, if they can nick one here soon, changes the complexion of this entirely.
They love this floated ball to the back post and then redirected back across. That's their bread and butter. Different look, though. Change it up here. I understand going with what you know, but at the same point in time, Suggs, he's smart. He can catch him cheating. San Antonio's going to know what's coming at him. Look at the near post.
Rivas will trot away from this. See Tenari putting his hand up, and Illich as well. Front running here is Suggs. Drives for Ryden. Out by Doyle. Corner, New Mexico. Corner driven here. Wasn't going to find Ryden. Lemma. Epps. We're seeing a lot more of New Mexico's identity in this second half than we did in the first.
It's all about numbers. As simple as that. Add more to the equation in the midfield. Abu, Lindley chasing more. Cuello's all over the map right now. It doesn't know where the mark's coming from. And even when you pull Marcus Epps to the inside, you add one in. still really difficult to chase. And what happens, Mike, is as you start to compress yourself more to adapt to the pressure coming at you, then there's the width that starts to come into play. You know, the second and third option for New Mexico United as they build. Gotta be real careful here for San Antonio.
Illich serving, Doyle again.
Stay with the runner, but past the runner. Don't chase. A lot of the black jerseys right now, it's not to the next man, it's not zone. It's one player chasing the next. And so the space behind them opens up. What's vacated is easy to step right into for any of the runners, whether it's on the inside or on the exterior, Suggs and Bruce. And then you go back to the fact that you've added 4, instead of really 2 or 3 for United, into about a 15 or 20 yard square right in the middle of the park. Now Cam Lindley, one of the boys who pretty much everybody said when he came over here. You mentioned the fitness early on in this game, Mike. Both he and Tyler Gibson were the ones that always seemed to set a new threshold for Indy 11. Same rings true here under Alan Marcina. San Antonio.
Spare a thought there for Jesse Lawrence, who's the busiest man in all of San Antonio.
Think about how much chasing they did on Saturday, though. I mean, you're Deshane Beckford, Michi Galina, little guy by the name of Haji Berry, 13 goals in 12 games, running left and right constantly, finishing an entire shift. And I understand that it's early on Saturday, but you traveled.
Yep.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 3 days rest of sorts. And that's basically just regen.
And you were at altitude. Bruce. Lindley returns. Bruce tried to pick out the top corner opposite post. That would have been a stunner had it gotten by Cardoni.
That's what it's going to take here for New Mexico United. Even as they start to get better and their progressions moving forward, it's going to take a one-off effort to get them back into this. Really good at Gleadle not committing. The problem is he gives too much space. More pressure than that. Respect is one thing. Complacency is another.
Cardoni to drive this away, Devin. 8 saves against Colorado Springs. That was his most in a game since 2016. And let's just lay it out simply. San Antonio's got some draws and some wins this season solely on the back and beard of that man. Tenari. Rivas scrolling through options. Refreshes. Tenari. And again, Cardoni will get the chance to drive this away without duress.
He's frustrated by the lack of run on the back post by Josh Suggs. I wanted Andrew Tenari to hit this thing. He can crack him from distance. How many times did we see it in New York Red Bull 2? John Wolenak just on the sideline. Cheers, boys. Appreciate you. And that form that he had there, he's never really gotten back to it, has he? Rowdy's wanted it. Injuries.
Yep.
I mean, that was something that, speaking with Neil Collins, said this kid's going to be wondrous for you. Blaze of glory to start his career at Tampa Bay Rowdies. Gets injured, never returned to that form, and to be fair, has been chasing it ever since.
Rivas. Rivas is begging for a deflection, not meant to be.
All right, they want it, they want it.
Mexico's starting to buzz a little bit. They're looking to press high up the field. San Antonio is going to make their final set of subs here. Connor Maloney will finally debut. All the injuries that he's dealt with. The pride of Penn State. And Justin Dillon will come on as well. Maloney's second year in San Antonio, a 2017 draft pick of Greg Berhalter's Columbus Crew.
No more stuff from San Antonio.
Nathan has come out as well. Watch out. Gallegos at his best on an island. Tried to dance by Bruce. This teed up, recovered by Timbakis. So the goal scorer on the night has come out here in the 80th minute. San Antonio closing out a stretch of 5 of 6 at home, including a pair of friendlies against League MX competition, most recently Pumas. Take on El Paso next after a week-long break and then go away to Austin.
Just a little bump here by Chris Lemma up into the midfield. Maloney to outside back. That's an easy pick out. Well, everybody knows that's coming. And how does that affect Cam Lindley and Mohamed Abu? You would imagine that you would have two side by side with just the one in front.
Bruce. Depron.
Counter argument that to be is if you go flat 3, now they have to play around you as opposed to through you. And even though there's the box of 4 for New Mexico United, still doing a good job of shutting down Ilya Illich up top.
Epps had trouble with that. Bruce for New Mexico. Rivas at the end line, the cutback for Illich, bounces all the way through, and Bruce spinning like a top into that and sending it into the bleachers.
You want to get him on.
Remove the last thought from everybody's brain for New Mexico United right now. Once again, great build. Hit this. Hit this ball. Somebody put it on frame. Step right through this thing, because as it breaks down, you've still got a chance at the top, and it's a better look for Guzman than for Daniel Bruce. The confidence is building, but once they get closer, Mike, it's just breaking down right now. There's a lot of room here for them to play with.
You're going to go with Touche. So watch Touche. Billy's going to come here. Christian's just come right around. And he's going to pick the corner. Get to the near post. You see Bailey there. He was wide open. So expect the water.
Yearwood. Mexico has 2 subs waiting to come on. Those will be the last 2 of the night. Looking for a spark here. These sides haven't been without their late dramatics this year. Kept in by Tenari. Wonderful from Yearwood. Rivas. Changes here for New Mexico. Alex Touche comes on out of Albuquerque Academy, 22-year-old center back, played 4 years at Penn. Ivy Defensive Player of the Year once upon a time, replaces Tete. Then Tenari is going to come off, and 17-year-old Christian Nava will make his second appearance out of Albuquerque High School. Devin, they tell us, we trust this kid. We're not checking a box sending in a 17-year-old. He's legit.
You talked about the Somos Unidos Foundation and how they're pumping in all the resources, not just financially, but the ability to set these young men up for success. Nava's at the top of that pyramid. One of the most impressive creators at the entire academy level. 5th academy signing in history, and just the 1 appearance to his name. It was part of the 3-1 victory back on September 10th over Colorado Springs. He flies. Tight-knit situations, loves to build through.
He'll turn on a dime, and if you can just feed into his feet and let him create, give him options to work through, he'll make you successful.
Don't worry, man. Just get in there and take on Colorado Springs, one of the most athletic and fear-inducing sides in the league, and go away to San Antonio and try that on for size.
I do love the response in the midfield by Alan Marcina, though. I mentioned that they would go flat a little bit here, so they've basically gone Lindley, Abu, Lemma in no particular order, though Cam Lindley favoring the right side a little bit, and any one of those three are willing to step up in front, but they flatten the three and they pinch Gallegos and Epps a bit further defensively to the inside. So you've really created this three flat front, which, as I mentioned, now they're making them play around. New Mexico United trying to push balls to the outside and stretch them a little bit further. You don't need the presence. You've got Dylan, knock the long ball up. You want to counter, that's fine. Your work offensively is done. You've got to shut it down for the next 5 minutes. And with all the fresh legs for New Mexico United, that's going to be a rough ask.
Guzman. Nava. Press from Gallegos, stifling. And away from Nava. A free kick conceded here by Guzman.
Remember, he was down before Cam Lindley. Cramps or not. It's always the worst. You're already exhausted, and then a little rough challenge on the backside. Back heel of his. Welcome.
Maloney. Well, the good news for San Antonio is at least Maloney's back. PC went down with an injury, and Jasser Kamiri did as well. So holes to fill for the next game for San Antonio. Perhaps they'll be able to return in short order, but in midfield and at center back. Doyle's come in and done a nice job.
Yet still back-to-back victories over quality squads.
You and I have gradually, over the course of this season on SiriusXM, spoken on USL All Access about how much concern there should or shouldn't be about San Antonio's trajectory. And at one point you opened up Preston, the PR guy does such a great job, and
Preston
David does it in Mexico as well.
David Carl.
He just read the list of guys on the injury report and said, I don't know what you're expecting from them right now. And finally, it's all coming together despite the fact they've had to put some square pegs in round holes. Dylan, is there an exclamation point here? Epps gliding through. And Lemma with a deflection rolls wide.
All the hard work here done by Marcus Epps. Watch the little touch back to the inside with all of the change that you've seen out of Gallegos and Epps. You wonder how much they have left in the tank. A lot, apparently. What a run by Epps. Questionable foul, little deflection. There's the move by Chris Lemma. A converted midfielder into outside back, thrust back into the midfield with 15 minutes to go. Not a bad shift for Chris Lemma so far.
This is with New Mexico, and it'd be ignorant not to state. Brian Brown, outstanding goal scorer out. Harry Swartz from Hartford these past few years, a spark plug has been out. Sam Hamilton has been out, and then Armando Moreno is away with El Salvador on international duty at the Gold Cup. This is Dylan. lashing from the edge of the 6-yard box. San Antonio seems intent on finding their third.
New Mexico United just taking chances, and you can't blame them here, but out of all of those, would make the argument, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? The one side is you need the presence up top. I'm leaning with Armando Moreno because of his versatility. The other side of that is, though, this back line is really good. And it's different when Sam Hamilton's not there. We talked about the conversion for Chris Lema. That's a former holding midfielder turned center back in Sam Hamilton that can also step up into the space. So when you play in 3, but you have the ability to send someone like Sam Hamilton off the back line, step up in, and your outside backs, they can cover. That's no longer an option. And I tried to pull that out of Troy Lesane and said, what are you guys missing? He said, if we're healthy, nothing. The problem is, Mike, they're not healthy. They are missing depth, just like San Antonio was. That release that you talked about was leading up to the July 3rd loss against Austin Bolt. 6 guys for San Antonio that could have made a case, still can, to be in the starting 11. They had to go sign 2 academy replacements just to field a team.
Conversely, if you're New Mexico, you're thinking we're probably down 4 starters right now.
Easily. And yet again, they turned over back-to-back wins prior to tonight.
Plon trying to knock a little time off the clock, and in doing so, sent that awkwardly into the stands. 5 more minutes here. Game that was meant to be a showcase at the tail end of the league meetings as much as it was these 2 franchises that have so impressed in how they handle their business from the front office to the playing field. Alec Papadakis, Justin Papadakis, Jake Edwards, Mark Cartwright, R.C. Buford, Tim Holt, Peter Trevisani, so many more executives from clubs around League One and the championship in attendance tonight have gotten a real good look at what San Antonio feels has real potential. Gallegos, the apple of Bayern Munich and Barcelona's eye. Now Epps rolls this back. Abu stutters and lost it, but it's temporary. Gallegos once more. Gallegos now, nearly between the legs of Tabakis. And still for San Antonio, fish in a barrel. Oh, there he goes. Lindley. Gallegos. Oh, it's magical for San Antonio. His first 2 assists this year, and now his first goal. 3-0 San Antonio, 3 points closer to the playoff line.
You asked the staff about Jose Gallegos. Individual effort is never one that he's going to shy away from. The buildup on both of their first 2 goals, all Gallegos. Team effort for sure, but his ability to create cannot be understated. And then the lone effort. 1 just seconds prior. Cleanup, 94th minute. Jose Gallegos. Just go to work. Some kind of confidence. 3-4 players would never know it. Dances his way through, and 3's company for San Antonio.
The 19-year-old, last year's Young Player of the Year finalist. Players on the team talk about what a team player he is. But when you talk to Alan Marcina, he said a lot of players are fantastic or great at certain things. But he said he is special. Objectively, physically, his numbers are through the roof. And after a 2-week training stint in Munich with Bayern over the offseason, his star continues to rise, and finally he's got the numbers to attest to the greatness It's San Antonio sees in him, the pride of Central Catholic High School in San Antonio.
They needed this so bad, Mike, and as we talked about coming in, last win, May 22nd, 2-1 victory over Birmingham Legion. That East meets West, 7 games winless. Now you've taken down Colorado Springs on the road. You come home, take down New Mexico United, a highly touted team right now within the league and from their peers. The stretch is going to be very difficult, though. A week off, home El Paso, then 4 on the road.
Bouncing ball ricochets. Nava gave a bit of chase.
Austin, El Paso, RGV, cross country to Red Bull 2.
Yikes.
New Mexico United. El Paso, 3 days time on the weekend. Their schedule a bit more manageable in the sense that they get to come home for 3 out of the 5. You still take down El Paso twice at Isotopes Park. You still have to handle Austin on the road. The only saving grace might be you get a restart Oakland Roots, who will be coming off a Phoenix Rising matchup, and you get Tacoma Defiance. So a good opportunity to get back on track, but they're going to want to forget about this 3-0 right away.
This will get away. And if you're Alan Marcina, this whole season has been solution finding, people developing amidst a cascade of injuries. No Patino tonight, no problem. And San Antonio thrills the crowd tonight. SAFC, winners of 2 in a row, are a point out of the playoffs. Gallegos, magnificent, a goal and 2 assists. And San Antonio is flying up the Mountain Division standings. They knock off 3rd place New Mexico, 3-0.
Mike, go back to the conversation with Alan Marcina prior to the Colorado Springs game. Remove the injuries, remove the tactics, just said, what needs to be better? We do. We need to be better. We need to execute. Doesn't matter the training or the injuries or anything like that. We have to get rid of the excuses, remove the variables, and just go be better. They've done that to the tune of 6 goals in the previous 2 matches. In beyond impressive fashion, New Mexico United, elite, they're not there just yet. Work to be done for sure. Troy Lassane knows it.
Nathan, 2 goals. His transition to the States is blossoming in front of our eyes, and so too is Jose Gallegos. A goal and 2 assists. We'll wrap it up when we return. San Antonio has made a statement. The league meetings were this week in their hometown and on their home ground. A dominant 3-0 performance over New Mexico. Jose Gallegos, goal and 2 assists. Nathan, 2 goals. San Antonio knocks off New Mexico tonight. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr to wrap this one up. Devin, if you're San Antonio, everything that's gone wrong this year, but now you've won 2 games in a row, and you must be feeling on top of the world.
Especially with the lack of bodies. It's a very difficult thing for San Antonio to maneuver their schedule right now. And the fact that you change your formation, not philosophy, but the formation change is important because it's a starting point that they hadn't experienced all year long. You drop into 2 holding midfielders, you have success on the road, at altitude, and to come back and do it again on short rest, it was magnificent from start to finish for Alan Marcin and San Antonio FC.
Take a look at the full-time highlights, and we're just going to keep it simple. Let's go goals. We're going to start in the 35th minute. It's Gallegos starting the play.
Always love the long distribution coming out of the midfield, and that's what you get out of all of your holding midfielders, yet alone recent acquisition, Mohamed Abu. That long ball over the top, it's right in behind where I told you it could be, either behind Daniel Bruce or Josh Suggs. The left side all night long for United struggled. This one is defensively, stretch, go direct, cut it back inside. Gallegos in his individual brilliance shows up.
And Gallegos threading this through perfectly. Nathan round the keeper. Bye-bye.
Options. It's all about options, and as everybody drops deep, notice the back line comes really high for New Mexico United, and they forget about the runner. They forget about the space. They get spread thin. Nathan sees it. He goes quickly in transition, and then one-on-one. Not many words needed here, Mike, to be honest. He's that good. He has been applauded since all the way back in 2018. ECNL national champ with Classic Elite before this academy took over and had a new venture within itself. Central Catholic High School state champion. Is there another title in his future? With plays like that, you better believe it.
Looks like an SC top 10 play to me. Here's the Mountain Division now with a perfect-looking moon behind it, Dev.
Sick to my stomach at this division. It's honestly, it's that loaded with talent because Colorado Springs is going to turn around, and with a win against one of the best teams in the entire USL Championship, cross-conference Louisville, they can jump right back into 3rd. That's how tightly packed this is. Reminder, El Paso Locomotive, New Mexico United on the weekend. Should be a fun one.
Yeah, that'll be on ESPN+. Next game on ESPN2, you'll see Oakland and Phoenix on August the 4th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on ESPN2. For our entire Vista WorldLink crew, led by producer Sharni Yerke, director Gage Tillotson, Eric Valero, Hannah Reyes, statistician Olivia Watts, and Devin Kerr alongside Mike Watts saying so long from San Antonio, SAFC. Live up to the billing, 3-0 winners. Good night.